I'm Sheba Montserrat, and I am absolutely delighted to have been invited to come to St. Michael's and All Angels Church and help to draw out and capture stories from a generation who for so long has felt that their stories and their experiences were unimportant. I'm talking about the Windrush generation, or as I like to call them, unsung heroes and pioneers, those young adventurers who came all the way to these shores with dreams and fantasies and then had to adjust to a harsh reality. So here we are at St. Michael's and All Angels Church in Stoke Newington, capturing their stories. I hope you enjoy it.
Today is the first Sunday after Trinity. Could I invite you just to recheck our COVID guidelines? Hand sanitizer, face mask, and remember that during the offertory and communion we maintain a 2 meter distance.
Eugene came to England 18 years old. He arrived in September 1960. And this is why I have to stress the pioneers, that we're talking about a generation. When we speak of Windrush generation, we're speaking about a generation of pioneers. He was 18 years old and he was keen to come to England. But Eugene, I have to talk about this, your adventure,
yes,
to come to this country, to arrive in England. Let's look at your journey here. You boarded a ferry from Antigua,
yes,
which is where you're from. You passed 6 of the Windward Islands, then stopped in Barbados.
yes.
In Barbados, you boarded the ocean liner Sorrento, which took you to Genoa in
Yes.
Italy. Then you took a train,
Yes.
a bus, and a ferry.
No, hold on a moment. I took a train from Genoa to Dieppe in France.
Yes.
And then I took the ferry from France.
Oh, so you didn't, there was no bus?
No, there was no bus between them.
Okay, then you took a train and a ferry to get to England.
That's right.
Okay, so that is some journey.
Oh, you could say that.
What
yes.
was the most harrowing part of the journey and what was the most exciting part of that up and down?
I can tell you. There was no harrowing part.
Wow.
As a youngster,
Yes.
you could say I was fairly knowledgeable of where I was going. I had an enormous history of England,
Yes.
as well as the Caribbean.
Yes.
I'm a historian buffing,
Okay.
okay?
Yes.
But there was no harrowing part. My most enjoyable part
Okay.
in traveling to England on the Sorrento,
Yes.
that most of the people, if not 90% of the people, were elderly people, older than
On the
myself,
ship.
on the ship.
Yeah.
But the best thing about that was, for some unknown reason, there was a European family, a white European family on the Sorrento cruising. And for whatever reason, they took to me.
Oh.
They had 2 daughters, and we were about the same age. And my
This is getting
happiest moment on the Sorrento
Oh, here we go.
was swimming in the swimming pool.
Oh.
Yes,
With this family?
with the family.
So they took you into their part?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And the horrible thing about that, I developed earache from swimming so much into the pool.
Yes.
You see, the engine of the Suriento, in the pool, when you dive, it lets off,
Yes.
and I developed earache.
Oh, that's awful.
It wasn't awful,
Oh,
because
sorry.
my parents had given me certain remedies, home remedies, that if anything should happen to me, I was able to use it.
Wow.
And whatever the mixture that my dear mother, wintergreen and this sort of a thing, and I rubbed my ears, and without no time, it was gone.
Fantastic. So, on this journey across land,
Yes.
because you're the only person I've met thus far that came to England and had to travel across land before arriving in England.
Yes.
Was there more of these Caribbean migrants with you? How many other
Oh, there was quite a lot, because
doing this same journey across land?
the same journey, yes. You had people who boarded in Antigua, and then on to Montserrat,
Yay!
and leave Montserrat, and then we sail southeastwards.
Yes.
Dominica,
Oh, yes.
Guadeloupe.
And picked
In
up
fact,
on
in Dominica, because in my diary I knew that I went to show in Dominica, where I replenished myself with a few cans of Coke and oranges in Dominica, and then set sail onto St. Lucia, and then go eastwards to Barbados.
Right, right. So where did you reside when you first came to England?
What have I?
Where did you reside? Where did you live?
Well, we took the train because she lives in Leicester,
Oh, you went straight to
and
Leicester.
that's why I went straight to Leicester.
Oh, I see. So you go past London, don't stop.
Oh, that's right.
Did you intend to stay just 5 years?
Incidentally, the 5-year plan hadn't really sunk into me. It was always there, and my parents gave me a free hold to do what I wanted to do, the same as my other sisters. So therefore, it wasn't a specific or predominant plan for 5 years. If at the end of 5 years, and I wanted to go back home and do what a lot of my colleagues did, some became lawyers, some became politicians, and things like that, because that was the circle.
So what did you came to study, did you have a specific profession in mind?
Engineering.
Engineering.
Although law was predominantly in my mind too.
Okay.
Because I was, even in Leicester, I met one or two individuals who happened to went to my school.
Right.
And as prefect, I sometimes used to take them in classes. And I've been asked many a time when I met up with them, I said, "Oh, Eugene, have you been qualified for a lawyer?" I says, "Qualified? I haven't studied law." Because this is the opinion they had of me.
Right.
But no, engineering.
So, as well as an academic,
Yes.
you're very much a sportsman.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, so, and not just cricket, because everybody knows
Not just cricket.
that Caribbean,
Yes.
especially of that time, were their religion was
You
cricket.
could say from the mid-60s, 70s.
Okay, as well as cricket, you were a footballer too.
Yes.
So tell me, how were you able to use cricket and football to create intercultural
Yes.
connections in Leicester?
Well, that wasn't difficult. That wasn't difficult. I suppose that even the age I was, and there's a place called Spinney Hill Park in Leicester,
Yes.
where a lot of sporting and people go play tennis and that sort of thing. Football, especially coming towards the mid-60s, before the England won the World Cup in '66, I played football. I loved playing football, and I loved playing cricket. And I gathered youngsters to come and play. And believe it or not, my dear, sometimes you have 20 aside playing football.
Really?
That's what it was.
Wow.
You know, they glued to it. And obviously, by that time, the World Cup
Yeah.
was coming up for 66.
So I need to just ask you 2 questions that I'm asking all the participants.
Of course, my dear.
Okay. When was the last time you visited Antigua?
8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, so not too bad. Yeah.
No, 8 years ago.
And do you still yearn to go back to Antigua and settle down, or is England your home now?
Well, I'll answer that question. If I had the will of my 2 sisters that are there and a brother, and before Mommy died, and the daddy died back in the 70s, Mommy died in the 90s.
I'm sorry.
But if all the years through, come back home, you know. So I've always lived with that. And even at this moment, my dear sister Ethelyn and my sister Ruth, you know, and my sister Judith. Judith is the last of our siblings. And you should come home.
So there's still a voice.
Oh yes, they still wants me home.
Yeah.
They still wants me home.
You're here, you're British, you're here in England, you're settled, but something is still pulling you.
Oh yes, I have no doubt. I will end up back home.
Oh, how wonderful.
I will, there's no doubt about it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
You didn't know my song. No bola hosa terra for
I have
Richards, not Thompson, not Lily, not David, not Shanda Shaker.
Yes, I have heard it.
Coordination of body and mind.
Yes.
That brother is really dynamite. Pace and skin. They don't give a damn, but they're bowling him fast and slowly. He going back to the boundary. Yeah.
Yes.
This Windrush Pioneer arrived in 1954 from the beautiful, teeny tiny island of Montserrat. Welcome, Dorothy Ryan Branch. Hi, Dorothy. You okay?
I'm fine.
Yes, you're looking great. You're looking great.
Thank you very much.
Now, Dorothy, you had a true Windrush pioneering spirit. At 17 years old, you insisted to come to England at 17.
Yes.
Why did you want to leave Montserrat?
Well, as you know, Montserrat is a small country.
Yes.
And you go to school till you're 17, either study for teaching or you have to venture out.
You either study for what?
Teaching.
For teaching?
Yeah.
So you just had a taste for a little bit more?
Well, there was not a lot there for young people.
Yes, okay.
So England opened when I came out on the first birth.
And you know, your parents weren't...
My father died when I was 10.
Oh, your father died at age 10.
I was 10.
You was 10, yes, when you was 10. And you wanted to leave, and the ship was, you knew there was a ship coming.
I was in town when the ship came.
You was actually in town, the ship came.
Yeah.
And you got the money from your godparents.
Yes.
You convinced them.
I didn't have to convince them. I told my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're going to print this, but my mom said, where am I going to get the money from? You want me to teach?
Oh my goodness. So your mom didn't have the money to...
She did, she had it, I don't know.
Right.
She didn't say she didn't have it.
Okay.
The answer I gave is the answer she gave to me.
So on the day when the ship was in port, you knew you was going to leave on that ship.
I was in town, so I just went and told my godmother.
And they gave you the money.
To do everything to come.
So between seeing the ship and getting the money, how many days did you leave?
It wasn't long. I told my godmother, a ship is in, going to London, and I want to go.
Oh, wow. So the ships, when they came to the Caribbean, to the islands, they stayed there for a little while?
For about 4 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So at least within 4 days,
yeah.
You as a 17-year-old girl got the money,
paid the passage,
booked
the, get your suitcase ready,
packed, and left for a 24-day journey.
Yeah.
To whom? Who were you going to?
I had an aunt in Cardiff and an uncle in Three Beresford Road, London, E5 or N1 or something.
Yes. So how did you get? Wait. He didn't know you was coming. But how did you get from Southampton to your uncle's house?
We got a train. In those days, the train bring you. But I was only 17, so I'm a child still.
So the train was part of the journey. The train journey from
Yeah.
Southampton to Waterloo was all in the passage.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And from the train station,
Yeah.
there's buses to take you where you want to go.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So that was all part of your passage?
Yes.
So then you got a bus to bring you to 3 Beresford
Beresford
Road
Road.
in Newington Green,
Yeah.
and you knocked on your door, and you said, Uncle, I'm here.
Uncle is not there. Uncle is out, and I said to the driver of the cab that bought me, I don't know nowhere else to go. And he said, the last boat came in, I take a young lady in Highbury, and as far as he knows, she's still there. So he took me there, and she took me in.
She was a Montserratian?
Yeah.
Because all Montserratians passed through Highbury?
Yeah.
So this was an Englishman?
The English driver,
Yes.
but it's a black girl from Montserrat.
Yes, but you see, I want to just touch on the fact that, you know, we know there was a lot of racism, but there was a lot of...
Racism.
Yeah, but let's just remember, let's just honor this driver who was thinking.
He's very good.
Yes.
He was very good.
When we say one, we have to say two.
Yeah.
To counteract the racism, this man was thinking, why would he think to take you to her?
Well,
Amazing.
Where I was, they wouldn't. The lady said, it was an African. He said, "We can't." I said, "Let me wait in the passage," and she said, "No."
Oh.
So
you was...
No, she said, "You can't stay in the passage." And the driver said, "I know somebody in Highbury that came up on the last boat."
That's unbelievable.
That is true.
And do you still know this lady?
Yes, I know her from home.
Oh, you knew her from Montserrat?
Yes. She has to pass my home to go to town and church and pass it down and pass it up.
That is one of the most exciting stories I've ever heard. And a woman on her own, and this protective Englishman who's doing the right thing. We mustn't forget those who supported.
No.
That is absolutely beautiful. So then you stayed with that lady. What was her name?
Betsy,
Betsy. You stayed with Betsy for the weekend.
until the Easter Tuesday.
And then from there, you went to Cardiff to your aunt, who doesn't know you're coming.
No. And doesn't live where with the address that we knows.
So you get to Cardiff,
Yeah. And goes to
knock
the
on the door,
address. Yeah.
I say, hello, surprise. And what happened?
She's not living there.
So who opened the door?
A white woman.
Did she get a shock?
Well, if she gets a shock, she didn't tell me.
Oh, she's diplomatic.
Yes.
So how did you find your aunt?
The lady, went to where my aunt is working because my aunt was living there. But then, you know, you come to England and you move on.
Yes.
So
of
she
course.
moved on.
Yes.
And she didn't tell us no.
Right.
So I came, knocked the door, and this English lady answered.
Yeah.
The Welsh lady answered.
Yeah.
And I asked for my aunt Sarah, and she said she's not living here.
So she took you to your aunt's workplace?
No, she took me in her home.
The Cardiff lady?
Yeah.
The Welsh lady took you in her own home?
Yeah.
And
Give me tea.
Oh, how wonderful.
But I don't drink tea. And she knows my aunt because they were my aunt was living. So she knows where my aunt is working.
Yes.
So she said, you stay here and I'll go and tell your aunt.
Wow.
So she went and told my aunt.
Oh, my.
And came back.
Yes.
And said, my aunt said when she finished work, she will come.
Your aunt must have got a shock.
More than a shock.
Oh, my goodness. So how long was it since you'd seen your aunt?
I haven't seen my aunt for a long time because they're Dominicans. My parents are Dominican.
Oh.
And so my aunt and them are Dominican.
So they came from Dominica
to Montserrat.
Oh my God. So they were, Betsy was in Montserrat before?
Yeah, Betsy is not my family, is a friend, but she lives up the,
okay,
like a mile out of town.
Because I know there's a Dominican community in Montserrat.
Well, because since I'm born, there's a Dominican.
Right, right. So you parle patois?
No,
Okay.
I'm English.
Okay. So the day after, Dorothy, you arrive in Cardiff, you go to your aunt, you stay at your aunt's, and the day after you get a job.
I didn't look at the job. My aunt looked at the job, say, what happened when the lady went to her to tell her that I have arrived.
Yeah.
where she's working, she must have speak to whoever in charge.
Your aunt
Yeah.
did, yes.
So when she came the night and take me where she
She
staying,
lived, yeah.
she said, "Oh, you have to get up early in the morning because you're going to work."
Yes.
I worked 2 days. I had to come back and I went deaf.
What do you mean you went deaf?
You know when people went deaf?
No, what do you mean? Did you literally go deaf or is it?
Couldn't hear to my ears. Couldn't hear. I have to watch you and listen.
Why did you go deaf? What happened?
Noise.
What, in the factory?
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of factory was this?
Factory that makes pots and pans.
Boom, 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 boom. It made you deaf?
Yeah.
Oh, you had to get out of there, Dorothy.
I spent a week 2 weeks up there. The
Yeah.
few days I go, and there is a week in hand.
Yeah.
So I work for the following week.
Yes.
And I finished the Friday, and the Saturday I came back to London.
You see, I was going to ask you, why did you come back to London? But it's quite obvious.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to work with someone that's making you deaf.
No.
I don't think so. So
And
was
I
your
went-
aunt deaf?
When I went to the,
Was your aunt? Did most of the
No.
people in that factory have bad hearing?
I don't know. She never said anything, but when
But-
I had to go to the doctor, and my aunt still go to work, and I go to the doctor, and the doctor was furious because I was underage.
Oh.
So he had to syringe my ears. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So then you left Cardiff, you came back to London. Now, I know you did different things in London, but one of the things you, Miss Dorothy Ryan Branch, pioneer, one of the things was that you had a hairdressing business. How did you know you were a hairdresser, and where was your business?
At home in Montserrat, I usually did neighbors' hair. I wasn't trained for it.
No.
I just do it.
Yes.
And
You had a talent for it.
yes. And so I came to, when we came to St. Sixth Road, I lived there for about yonks.
Where?
St. Sixth Road.
Cazenove Road.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I lived there. And in those days, you only could get a room.
Yes.
Or a room and kitchen.
Yes.
We had a room and a kitchen.
Ooh.
Posh.
Yes.
So I lived there until I moved where I am now.
Yes. When was the last time you was in Montserrat?
A few years, it's not quite 10 years.
Okay.
I've been back there about 4 times.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And do you still kind of pine to go back to Montserrat,
Not
or
really.
is England home?
Not really.
You don't pine to go back.
No.
This is home.
When I go there, I go for holiday.
So England is home.
Yeah.
This because, and it would be. You've been here more years
Then I live there.
than 17 years old. Dorothy insisted on coming to England. You see, I'm fascinated by your story because, like I said, I call Windrush pioneers, and pioneers, they're the first to do things, but they're adventurous. You came here to nobody knew you were coming.
No.
And you was never worried.
No.
You knew you would be all right, and that's why the driver took care.
Remembered me.
I salute you, Dorothy. It's an absolute pleasure to get this story documented. Thank you for giving up your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On Saturday, the 24th of August, 1957, Cyril Walton arrived from St. Catherine in Jamaica. He traveled to England with 6 friends. And not only did he travel to England with 6 friends, Cyril traveled second class. Yes. Cyril, tell us about that journey. You traveled second class.
Yes.
What was the difference between second class, first class, and third class?
You have more people in second class more than first class.
Uh-huh.
You have more people in third class more than second class.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you was in a cabin. How many people would be in your cabin, for example?
About 6.
About 6.
Yes.
And then, where would so second class would be in the middle?
You know, bunk bed.
Okay.
It's a bunk bed.
So you shared your cabin with your friends.
You share your cabin with anybody.
Okay. So you wasn't with your 6 friends? that
No.
time? Okay.
We separate, you know. We only come on the boat from the same district.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But we separate.
And third class would be, so you'd have first class that was near the top of the ship.
Yeah.
Then second class was the lower down.
Yes.
And then way down.
Down.
Was third class.
Yes.
Which was the rough end, the rough part.
The rough part of the sea.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you travelled in style, we can say.
not definite.
Well, it wasn't bad. Okay.
All we want to do was to reach England.
Yes, of course. So it was a 24-day journey?
24.
24 days at sea. Now, when you came, you arrived and you came to meet your cousin. You arrived at your cousin's house?
Yes.
Was your cousin?
My cousin, yeah.
Yes. And what happened when you arrived at your cousin's house?
When I went to Waterloo, because the train take me from Southampton to Waterloo.
Yes.
And she didn't turn up.
Oh.
She says, well, so a chap was there, and him said, where you going? I said, I'm going to Penn Street. He said, where, Hackney? So him said, okay, since your cousin don't turn up, I'll take you. And about 6 of us was into the van.
Okay.
And he traveled all around the place. And he couldn't find number 2 Penn Street.
Oh.
I tell you something. So he went to the police station, Hackney Bart.
Uh-huh.
And they said they don't know no place named Penn Street. And he was just behind there.
Whatever.
So he goes around and he said to me, if I don't find it, you have to sleep on my settee.
Oh.
I said, I don't mind.
Yeah. So this was an Englishman who it was his job to drive people around.
Yeah, no, well, I suppose so.
He was part of the system.
But he's a black man.
Oh, it was a black man.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Cause your people come here from 1951, 57.
48 was the first set of people.
Yes.
Oh, so by this time in 1957, it was a black man driving
yes.
around.
And he have his own flat.
Okay. So, so how did you find number 2 Penn Street?
He search around and he find it.
And
when we find it, my cousin just come in from Brixton for a wedding.
Oh my God.
So she says, I thought tomorrow you're coming. I said, no, you have the date wrong.
Oh my goodness.
She says, okay. And secondly, she says, the room where I prepare for you, somebody's still in there because they don't gone yet.
Oh my goodness.
So I says, what? So he says, okay, you can sleep in the living room. Then I says, okay. And she said to me, all right, I'll take you to Brixton because my brother came up July, 1st of July.
Oh.
So my brother was in Brixton.
Oh.
So when I went down there, my brother couldn't get a job neither.
Oh.
And he gone to Manchester
goodness.
to work in the hotel.
Yeah.
All right. Then I have a friend where I know from home, and he said, oh, you can stop with me.
And where was that friend? Was that in Brixton as well?
Yes.
Is this the same night?
Same days.
What?
On the Sunday.
So on the Sunday, you route down the place to look for Penn Street. Your cousin finally
the
turned
Saturday night I route down the place, I look for Penn Street, and
you find it. And then the Sunday, you
she
find
took
yourself in Brixton?
Yes, because we catch a 35 bus.
Oh, the 35?
Yes.
Okay, not the 36?
No, 35 was coming from Leighton.
So you're reaching the country and you're on bus going from across London to your brother, who is now in Manchester.
Yes.
So who are you living with now?
So I stopped with a friend for a week.
So now you struggled to get a job.
Yes, because you couldn't get job down there.
Why?
White people, they don't want to give you a job.
But that's why you came, they invited you to work. What do you mean?
Yes, and it don't work that way.
You must have been surprised.
It do not work that way.
So you were surprised you couldn't get a job. How long was it before you could get a job?
So after that, my cousin said to me, oh, the room is empty. You can come up. I will get no place where you can get a job. right on the high road at Homerton, they used to make glass there.
Oh.
And she says, she took me there, and when I went there, then says, oh, we fill up. We take the last 2 people.
Yes.
All right. So I was around for about 6 months before I get a job. And we have this place, because those days, 3 places in Hackney.
Yeah.
If you go there and you don't get a job, you won't get a job nowhere. Was Wholefield.
What was that?
The factory was named Wholefield.
Yes. What did they manufacture?
Underfelt.
Oh, okay.
Right?
For the carpets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the second place was Clanico Sweetie Factory.
Okay.
Right? And Hacksaw. If you go those 3 places and you don't get a job,
You're done.
and because why? The wages is cheap and people take the job just to stay in the job
Right.
until they get something better off.
I think the Jewish community were quite welcoming.
The Jews from Poland, the Polish Jews,
Yeah.
they help a lot of black people.
In this area?
In this area. If you want a room, Holing Street, Kisnup Road, Jenner Road,
They were welcoming.
because them have, I don't know them did get them house, but them did own all the property.
Okay.
And that's why when we come here, and you ask for a mortgage, and if your face don't fit in,
Yeah.
you're not, Hackney Council not going to give you the mortgage.
Okay.
You understand?
I hear.
It's not like now, you want a mortgage, you go to the bank, and the bank will give you a mortgage.
A mortgage,
Those
that's
days
lovely.
is the council.
My favorite word of the day, a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's good old roots word.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you 2 closing questions, which I asked all the people I talked to. When was the last time you went to Jamaica, Cyril?
16 years ago.
16 years. What?
Yeah, and the reason why, because last year, our plan was to go down for 3 months.
Yes.
But because of this disease, you can't move.
Right.
And plus, I'm not good.
Right. I
I
understand.
have trouble with trapped nerves, so I'm here to this in the
Oh,
back.
you have to take it easy.
Yes, so, you know.
Any plans to go, or you're just going to wait? Well, let's
Well,
forget
I
about
won't be
traveling.
going back to live.
No, yeah,
because
okay.
the condition I'm into now, I wouldn't fit in Jamaica.
Right. So
Because the younger generation is different from the generation that I lived there.
yeah.
Even in England, it's different,
I hear you.
you know?
So this is home now. England is home.
Yes,
You came here at 22. You came here just for 5 years,
5 years.
and you're still here.
I'm still here.
And are you a grandfather, a father,
No,
great-grandfather?
I'm just a single man.
Oh, wow.
From 1980, I live on my own.
Oh, okay. Ladies, Cyril is single.
no.
Okay? Queue up, make an orderly queue over there.
No.
And still gorgeous. Okay?
When I feel to go out, I go out, and when I feel to come in, I come in.
Wonderful.
Nobody can ask me no question, and I don't
Absolutely.
ask nobody no question.
You're your own man.
Yeah.
I understand that, Cyril, and I respect it.
I know it is good to live with somebody, but
It's good if you want to.
not these days.
It's good if you want to. Mr. Walton, Cyril, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're a wonderful storyteller. And thank you for sharing your stories with us.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay. I have the pleasure now to talk to Catherine Diet. Catherine left Montserrat, the beautiful small island of Montserrat, and came to England. And she arrived on the 29th of October 1960. Catherine, you left, your journey was quite short, it was 11 days, and you left Montserrat on the 18th of October, to join your parents.
Yes.
You was just 15.
Yeah.
Tell me about the night you was packing to leave Mama, the lady who'd brought you up for the last 5 years, because your parents...
More than that.
It was more than that.
Yeah.
So you was 15,
Yeah.
and how old were you when your parents left? Do you remember, roughly?
I was 10 when my mother left.
Yeah. So
But before that, I was mostly with my grandmother.
Oh, so she really was
She
like your
raised
mother.
me, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you had to leave her.
Yeah,
That must have been heartbreaking.
it was. I didn't want to come.
You didn't want to
I
come.
cried all the time, cried and cried. I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
Oh.
Nah,
But your parents wanted you to come and join them
yes,
for the opportunities.
yes.
And your grandmother must have been heartbroken.
Yeah, she was.
This is a legacy of the Windrush generation, you know,
Yeah.
being torn from people and being left behind. And so, did you ever get back to Montserrat to see your grandmother?
No.
Once you left?
But I saw her here.
Oh, she visited, because you was about to make me cry. I was about to start crying. So
No.
she visited England.
Yes,
She didn't live here, she just visited.
yes, she was here for 6 months.
And how long after you came to England did your grandmother come? How many years?
Let me see. About 1969, I think it was.
1960, so about 9-10 years after you came, you saw your grandmother. What was that like?
It was excited to see her again.
Yes.
I was so excited to
Yes.
see her.
And she changed,
Well, she got older,
and she loved you.
just the same.
Oh,
But she would do because I was named after her grandmother.
oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
my
I think there was a special bond.
A special bond, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
So you had to leave Mama on October 18th. You got ready, you was packing, you was crying.
Yeah.
Then you was rowed out to the ship. The ship was in the port. You know when they row, because the smaller islands, obviously the ship can't come in because we don't have the infrastructure. So you'd row out in a boat.
Yes.
Was it a
Yes, yeah.
And then how did you get from the boat onto the ship? What was it?
It was like a ladder you have to climb up.
You had to climb.
But it's like a ladder, you have to go up the ladder into the big ship from the little boat to the big ship.
It was like a ladder hanging over the. Was
Yeah.
there anything? Was it like steps like this?
Yes.
Oh, it was like steps.
Yeah, you have to go up the steps.
But
yes.
but where did the steps? Where was the steps? The landing for the steps. Did you have to step out of the boat?
Yes, onto the steps and then up.
So the steps had a bit of a landing.
Yeah.
And then it was an incline. It was a slope. That must have been scary.
It was for me.
Yeah, that's a bit scary. So right
Yeah.
from the start, the adventure starts right away.
Yeah.
Right away from
Yeah.
that boat. How many were in the boat? The little boat that rowed
Oh, I
out?
can't remember.
Roughly 10, 20, 1, 2?
Oh, no, it was more than, probably about 6 of us.
6. And
Probably about that.
one man rowing.
No, it was more than that.
2 people rowing. But it's a rowboat. Look at this. Then you go into the big ship. Now, you spent 6 of the 11 days on the ship, in the ship's hospital. What happened? Captain?
Vomiting.
Oh, you were seasick.
Yes.
Up and down and up and
Couldn't
down.
keep anything down.
Oh, so you had to stay in the hospital. Did they give you medication?
Well, they only gave me some like castor oil,
Oh,
which was very nice.
no. Oh, that was awful.
But the reason why I went in the hospital because I vomited worm.
Oh, so you had, so actually that was actually good to bring these things
Bring
out.
it up, yes, yes.
So they treated that.
Yes.
Okay, okay. But the seasickness didn't go anywhere.
No.
Wow. And you traveled with your cousin Elizabeth, who was a grown lady, who was coming to her husband. So you at least had companionship along the way.
Yeah.
How many people were in your cabin?
3 of us.
Oh, 3. So you, your cousin,
And somebody
and
else.
somebody else. And was this other somebody else from Montserrat?
Yes.
I was also Montserratian. Now, on the ship, though, that must have been, even though you had the seasickness, it must have been quite a pleasant experience meeting all these other Caribbean people.
Oh, yes.
What was the vibe amongst all these strangers?
It was nice because everybody looked out for each other.
In what way?
You know, like I was sick, so they used to go to the hospital to see me and take things for me. And
Really?
yes, they used to look after each other. Or if you go for your meal and you don't, say that lady, she was in the group, she wasn't there. They would say, where is Joan? Or where is so and so? And they will go back to the cabin to see what's wrong with that person.
Wow. And so, and then suddenly you're meeting people from St. Kitts and Nevis and
All over.
Antigua.
Because they were already on the...
Because Montserrat was
the
the
last
stop.
yes.
And so from Montserrat you went directly to Southampton.
Yes.
That's why yours was 11 days, because
Yes.
some people it's 24 days.
I know, they have to go different islands, yes.
Yeah, so the unity on the ship was quite...
Very nice.
lovely. Were there any other young people like yourself? Because you was only 15.
Yeah, there was a lot of different...
Everything was there. Everybody was represented.
Yes.
From the old to the young. Beautiful. So, but on arrival, you spent a lot of time crying. You was just crying.
Because I wanted to go back to Mama.
Oh.
Mama is my grandmother.
Yes. 2 days, Miss Catherine Diet, 2 days after you arrived, you were 15 years old, and you get a job.
Yeah. I had to go to the job center. It was down Main Street. I haven't forgotten it.
Weren't you too young to work?
Because you see, I would have been 16 in the March.
Well, you're still 15.
But I was too old to go to school, they reckoned.
Who did?
Well, go to the unemployment office, and they reckoned I was too old to go back to school.
Oh, that don't smell right to me.
Well, that's what they said.
So you got a job 2 days after you come at 15. What was your first job?
It was at a tailoring place up Beatty Road.
Oh.
In a Beatty Road?
Yes.
Because Simpson and Globe.
Okay. And what was your job?
And it was a tailoring place.
Yeah.
So my job was to take the basin cotton from the material. You know, when they finish making the suits and the trousers and that, you know, they have to baste them before they could...
What's basing? What's that?
Baste them together.
Oh, so they put in some tacking.
Yeah.
The tacking stitch. And you had to take out that tacking stitch.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was my job.
That was your job. And this was your first introduction to racism.
Oh, yes.
Already?
Oh, yes.
So what happened that you thought that you were experiencing hate? Because that's what racism is. It's just hate based on colours, or skin colour.
I was working on this table, and there was a phone up on like a ledge, and the office for the place was down in the basement. So if they wanted the charger, and as they used to call them, the man who was in charge of us, if they would phone up and this young girl, her name was Pat, never forget it. And she used to come. As soon as the phone, I used to run and answer the phone.
You did?
No, she used to run.
Did.
But every time she came and answered the phone, she stepped on my foot.
Oh.
And I thought it was accident.
Yes.
And she did it for a few times. So I said, why is it you keep stepping on my foot?
Oh, you asked her?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah.
She didn't take no notice of me. She came back again and she did it. So I grabbed her. I did. She had long hair.
Yes.
And I grabbed her. And I punched her.
You grabbed her by the hair?
Oh, yes. And I punched her.
Fantastic.
I did.
And?
And this Jamaican lady said to me, you will kill her. You go to prison. You will go to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let her go.
Yeah.
But I didn't let go.
Catherine! I'm so proud of you.
I didn't let go.
Yeah.
I kept holding on to her until they took my hand away from. I was going to beat the daylight out of her.
So how old was this Pat? Was she a grown woman or a young lady like you?
She was young, well, a bit older, but young.
A young lady. Mm-hmm. And after that, after you let her know that you're not no pushover, did she ever do it again?
No. No, they called us down into the office.
Yeah.
And they spoke. They didn't sack us.
Okay.
And they told her not to answer the phone again. So she stopped answering, so everything was all right then. But I didn't stay there long after.
Okay.
I went and got another job.
Yes. Was it because of that incident?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine Diet, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
you
you.
for telling me your wonderful stories and for really sharing your life, your important life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are so honored to be able to document
Well, thank
your
you.
beautiful tales.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks. Thanks.
So I'm going to have a quick chat with Gwendolyn Prescott. And I am so, so keen to find out how comes Gwendolyn, even though she's a Windrusher, how come she made her journey to England a little bit different from everybody else I've spoken to? Hi, Gwendolyn.
Hello.
You okay?
Yes, I'm good.
Gwendolyn, on the 31st of March 1963, you, unlike most people, flew to
Yes,
England
yes.
from Barbados on a BOAC plane. I just have to mention that you flew here. Everybody else had to swim, but you was able to fly. I'm very impressed. Now, where did you live when you came to England?
When we arrived in England, we arrived in London and then we ended up in Leamington Spa, Warwickshire. That's where my mother was living.
So your mother met you at the airport, and then you took the train, or you drove? Or
Drove.
You drove. was even that ride?
It was a bit of a journey to us. It was long because, you know, when you're in Barbados and places like that, you just can do the whole island in the day.
Yes,
but this
exactly.
was quite a long journey. But
And scenic. It must have been. Can you remember? You must have been looking around.
well, it's the houses. There was no green, no greenery, no trees like such, you know.
Oh.
So it was just one of those things you notice straight away.
Of course, and the trees were still pretty naked at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Now, and one of your biggest shocks, Gwen, was the sanitary conditions when you came to England. Tell us about the bathroom and toilet conditions and why this impacted you.
Well, we lived in a rented accommodation,
Yeah.
and there was about 3 or 4 different tenants within that house.
All from Caribbean backgrounds.
One from Caribbean,
Oh.
and the owners of the house were Indians.
Okay.
So my mother had rented a very, very large room at the top of the house, one of those Victorian houses which were quite large.
Yeah.
And that was our living room, bedroom, eating room and everything.
Right.
The toilets were outside.
Oh.
There was no bath.
Oh. Yeah.
So for us to have a bath, we had one of these tin baths,
Right.
zinc baths, which we
Right.
had to fill up with hot water
Yes.
and put in the bath, in the toilets to have a bath or a shower when we needed one. And the worst part about it is at nights, when you wanted to go toileting, you either have a pail
Yes.
or a potty or po, as
Yes.
it's known, under the bed.
Yes. So this is completely foreign to you.
That was, yes, very.
Yeah. So you'd come to less than you knew, because even though they said we came here for a better life, that wasn't better than what you'd left behind.
No.
And I think people keep forgetting that. You know that people came for opportunities.
But I didn't see it as a better life for me. It was my mother who reckoned it was a better life for her to
Yeah.
come here.
Yes. Yes.
And
So do you think, given the choice, you would have preferred to have stayed in the Caribbean?
to be honest, I haven't thought about it.
Which island dominated your accent most, do you think? Barbados or Trinidad?
I think at the time Trinidad,
Okay.
but it's changed a bit now, I think.
Of course. So you had an accent. Tell us how your school experience means you no longer care to read in public.
Well, within about the first month or two, as normal, they like you to come up and read a passage from a book.
Yeah.
So my first experience of doing that, I started to read, and I thought I was reading quite well.
Yes.
And then the whole class burst out laughing. And that was it. I closed the book.
And
And
they
I've
were
never
laughing-
offered to do it again.
They were laughing at what?
I don't know, maybe my accent.
Was
I
your
really
accent,
don't know.
Was your accent mocked?
Probably at the time, but not while I was at school.
Okay.
Not verbally in front of me or anything like
Okay.
that.
But that experience of being laughed at by a class, such things can stay with us. Yeah.
And it has.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, Gwen, you are one of 10 children, but only 4 are in England. Now, So that means this is a very, very common Windrush tale. So 4 managed to come to England, 6 stayed in the Caribbean. Now there's a term called barrel children, where the children left behind, one of the things they look forward to from England, one of the things they have of their parents is the barrel. But the legacy is thus that even if and when they come, there are fractures in a family because one side feels like they were abandoned or not favoured, and so it can cause conflict. 4 of you are here, 6 of your siblings are in the Caribbean. Would you say that you have an understanding of that Windrush legacy of conflict in a family because some children feel favoured and some feel maybe abandoned? Could you understand that?
At the moment, with the conflict, it's just that the ones that were left behind felt that we were better off. We had a better, we were getting everything here. But in my situation with my mother, a single woman on her own struggling to keep the children she has here, she wasn't therefore able to look after the ones back there.
That's right.
So I think they grew up with a resentment. There's just 1 or 2 of them who don't communicate with us because they feel that they were shortchanged, left behind.
And that is very, very, very common for the Windrush generation, as I said before.
Yeah, well, my mother tried reaching out. I mean, she made visits to the Caribbean when she could have afforded it, which was about 1975, 76,
Wow.
when she was in a position to take a trip down. Some managed to embrace her and others didn't.
Right, yeah. It's really, unfortunately, not unusual, such a story. Now, as I said before, you're originally from Trinidad, although you have some Bajan connections. You're from Trinidad and your husband is from St. Vincent, yeah? Now, if both of you never came to England, you might not have ever met. Or you might, we never know. But we know you met because you were both in England. But how you met is quite intriguing. Tell us how you met your husband.
Well, my husband was setting up a business with a couple of his friends, a shop, where they were selling household goods and clothing.
Yeah.
And maybe my mother did take something on tick, as you used to take, and I'll pay you later.
Yes.
And they had to come around and collect the money. So his friend said, oh, there's a woman down the road who's got 3 beautiful daughters.
Ooh, and you were one of them.
So he came along knocking to the door, and I happened to answer the door at the time.
And eyes met.
Eyes met, but it took about 3 months before I said, yes, I'd go out with you.
Oh, okay. But the love bubbles were bubbling.
Yes, I suppose it was. It was.
Yes.
And we've been together now for the past 50 years.
50 years.
And we've been married 48 years this year.
How fantastic. You're British, you're English, but does the call of the Caribbean still whisper to you, come back home, or is this home?
This is home because since I've been traveling, I grew up here, everything's here. And in Barbados, it's just the siblings I have. I have regular communications with the ones in Trinidad and my sister who's in holiday in Barbados at the moment.
Oh.
But apart from that, there's nothing else, no property, no nothing that I can say I want to go back to.
Right.
And the weather is lovely.
Yes.
The insects don't like me.
Lovely.
Not lovely. Which is one of the reasons I haven't got the hampering or the urgency to go.
I hear that. And of course, the other connection is to St. Vincent, which is going through a traumatic time with the volcano now. So that's also not something you have on your bucket list right now.
Not at the moment.
Right. So for now, this is home.
It's I have to make the most of it.
Okay. Okay, Gwendolyn. Thank you so much for your conversation. Thanks for sharing your stories. And love and more love and respect to you and the family.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In November 1957, our next guest, Cassandra Jacobs, arrived in Southampton. And now we get the opportunity to see and understand that journey from a child's point of view. Because as a Windrush generation member, Windrush generationer, is there such a word? Let's make it up. Cassandra arrived and she was just 6. Cassandra, you were 6 years old.
That's right.
Do you remember disembarking? Do you remember coming off the ship?
I can remember the hustle and bustle and so many people trying to get off, meet their family.
Yes.
But what I can definitely remember is coming down some stairs and seeing the big lions, some huge lions, and thinking, were they real?
Some lions?
Some big lions that like statues
Oh.
at Southampton's, because you come down those stairs,
Yeah.
and then you just whoa, and then the journey to Waterloo. It was Waterloo.
You remember that?
To Waterloo. We went by train.
Yes.
I believe it was by train.
Yes.
A packed train. And then when we arrived, Uncle Romig and my father being there to meet us.
Wonderful.
So
So, and this is so sweet. Okay, this is why I said we're in for a treat. We're gonna experience this from a child's perspective, because nobody has mentioned lions, and adults would have all seen them, possibly, but it would never have made the same impact as a child, because you're looking at them. Did you know there were lions?
Yes.
You knew there were lions.
Huge. And I think they're still there. It wasn't Southampton, it was Waterloo. I think they're
Oh, at
still
Waterloo.
there. When you come down the main stairs at Waterloo.
That is the
some huge
sweetest thing.
lions.
And how was the journey across the ocean for a little 6-year-old?
That I can't remember.
Oh, you don't remember?
I don't remember
How
that.
funny is that?
But what sticks in my mind is, I suppose, the journey ending and seeing Uncle Romig and my father again.
Yes.
So that is quite prominent in seeing
Right.
that connection.
So you
again.
arrived with your mother, of course, and your mother had an infant in her
yeah.
arms. Who was the infant?
A sister. of
Your
mine,
sister?
yeah.
What's her name?
Burnell.
Burnell.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you were met at Waterloo
Yeah.
by Uncle
Romig.
Romig and your father. So tell us about Uncle Romig and your
Uncle
father.
Romig had come to England along with another cousin, Uncle Victor.
From Antigua?
From Antigua. And they came during the 40s. So they were here at the last bit of the war and beginning
Really?
of the 50s. Oh, yes. Yeah. And so they were kind of the established family for us here.
Yes.
So they sent for various members of the family, and Uncle Romig sent for my father.
Yes.
And
that was your father's uncle, obviously.
Yes.
So it's your great uncle.
Yes, my great
Your grand uncle.
Yes,
yeah.
my great uncle.
And he sent for your father.
And then my father sent for my mother and us, because we were still in Antigua.
So when your father left, how old were you?
I think I was either 4 or 5, yes.
Did you remember your dad?
Yeah, he only died when
he came?
Yes, yeah.
Just about.
Just about, but he, yeah.
Wow.
Yes. I think it was about 2 years. My mother would definitely know.
Yes.
I think it was about 2 years he was here before he'd saved enough money to send
Absolutely. His family.
for us.
For his family.
Yeah.
And all at once, which is
Yeah.
quite nice.
Yeah.
So you are a Windrusher that were one of the early people to go through the education system.
Yeah, I did all my schooling in England.
Yes,
All
but,
of
but before there was many of us.
Yeah.
So you must have been one of the few black children in your school.
Yes, I was out of a school of, say, I don't know, say 500, there was probably about 3 or 4 of us at that time.
Wow.
At that time.
So-
Predominant white.
Yes, it would be.
We
but
may have had an Indian, but black, no.
Okay, so you're really early on in the education system. And how was that? How was school? How was the children? How did that work?
I think at first I was a novelty.
Yes.
There's, so they wanted to touch my hair.
Okay.
They wanted to feel my skin.
Really? And what, crowding
touch
around
me.
you?
Yeah, but I think as children, you're
Curious?
curious, and so you're not like offended.
No.
Because you're you're making new friends and
Right.
you're in England
And they weren't
and
offensive to you. They were just children and curious.
children
Yeah.
and very curious about. Probably went home and said, "Mommy, there's a black, and
Yes.
a black,
Yes.
child." But after that initial initiation,
Yes.
it was fine.
Okay.
I never,
They didn't give you a
know,
hard time at school, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
And this was in
and I had a
Hornsey?
strong father that education. So you went to school to learn.
Right.
And if the teacher said the sky is green, and my dad said the sky is blue, he would just say, "Just look at him, but you know that the sky is blue. So whatever they say,
Okay.
you know."
Okay.
What? So that was it, and it is still a thing. I tell my grandchildren that.
That was very handy because, a lot of Caribbean parents really believed in and trusted the education
Yeah.
system and didn't doubt anything that came from it. But your father was having none of it.
My father was a great dad.
Okay.
A great dad.
Absolutely. So you went through the school system, and this was in Hornsey you went to school?
Yeah, the first school that I went to was in Hornsey. And then after my brother was born in Hornsey, we moved to Hackney.
So luckily your parents knew an Antiguan by the name of John Prince.
Yes.
Who was he and how did he help your life
John
to
Prince
move forward?
was a teacher
Yes.
in Antigua, and then I think he immigrated probably just after Uncle Romigan, because he was already here.
Yes.
And he was a teacher, and because of all the West Indians that were here at that time and the circle that he moved in, he knew a lot of, people in that connections. He had connections.
Yes.
So, and John Prince and my mother,
Yes.
well, you know how the Caribbean is. They're cousins on both sides.
Oh, yes.
So
That's
because
not unusual.
The cousin thing.
Yes.
And I suppose my parents explained, well, Sandra's finding it hard to get a job, and left that with him. And he got me a job myself, and another girl, Glenda Thomas, she was a friend of mine at school, and he also knew her parents.
Right.
And Glenda worked at the Race Relation Board.
Wow.
All her life. Yeah. And John Prince got
Got
her
her that job.
And I went to the Eastern Caribbean High Commission. It was called the Associated States in those days, because it represented the Leeward Islands. Jamaica, before it became independent, was part of it.
Okay.
And they were based in High Street, Kensington.
Despite Jamaica not being in the Eastern Caribbean, it was still part of it.
Yeah, because it was that's what it was called.
So it just meant the English-speaking Caribbean, really.
They were all called Associated States at that point.
Right.
And once they started to get independence, and and then
So-
it was changed.
So what was your job there?
I was glorified junior secretary.
Okay.
And because it was a small high commission, basically, so we all kind of dipped into everything. So
Okay.
although I manned the switchboard and typed,
Oh, wow.
and gave information over the phone, tourist information, passport information.
That was a nice job.
Students, I stayed there for nearly 15 years. 30.
Do you still yearn to go back to Antigua to
Yes,
live?
I do.
You still yearn to go back to Antigua? You think that's on the cards? Will that happen?
Yes, it will.
Despite the fact that you are British, do you consider yourself British? Do you
Yes,
feel?
I do.
But,
Yes.
but Antigua is calling.
But I'm Antiguan.
Hey.
I'm an Antiguan.
All right now.
Just happened to have, I'm domiciled here.
You know what? I say that we Caribbean people need to embrace that we are bicultural.
Yeah.
We have two cultures.
And I have two homes. But I have two homes, and nobody can tell me that I'm not British. I refuse. I am British.
Yes, you are.
Very
You've got
British,
another
but
home.
I am Antiguan.
Yes.
Don't ever forget that.
And isn't that a privilege?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
Yes.
got two homes.
Yes.
Cassandra, absolute delight. And thank you that I could see that whole thing for a little child's eyes. The lions, how sweet. You didn't even know if they were real or not.
No, but I can remember them.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, We've spoken to 6 members of St. Michael's and All Angels Church. And all of these members are Generation Windrush. We've heard stories about optimism, about wanting to come and make a change, about not wanting to come and wanting to go back home. We've heard stories from adults' perspective, young adults, may I mention. We've had stories from a child's perspective. But each and every story has been wonderful and has been a delight to archive. Thank you for listening, and I hope to speak to you soon. Shiva Montserrat. Bye.